Hey there, little bug. How are you doing today? Uh, I'm just pausing for you to mentally answer to me. Thank you very much for sharing with me today, and I hope you're having as good as possible day. And in case you're not, I'm sending you a very big bear hug. Of course, only if you would like to receive it. On today's episode, or as I prefer to call it, chapter, we will be talking about a topic that hits very deep in my soul. However, that's what this podcast is about. And it talks about, or it's going to be about, unaliving threats that I've received and cutting contact with a family member due to those threats and other situations, as well as complicated relationships with family. I'm making the disclaimer as well that, as you know, I am not a mental health care professional. If you feel like you are going through a very tough time, I encourage you to seek for external help, whether it is therapy or talking to someone or seeking for support of someone you trust. That's always something I'm going to be proud of you for doing, as well as I hope that if this disclaimer or the explanation before kind of triggers you or makes you feel uncomfortable, I also encourage you not to listen to the episode until either you feel comfortable with the idea or just not at all. I'm not here for the views or listeners on my podcast. I'm here to share stories and to make you feel as comfortable as possible. So there is no need at all for you to put yourself through something that will hurt unless you are aware that you can deal with it. I will be proud of you regardless of what you decide, whether you listen or whether you decide to put yourself aside. I'm gonna be freaking proud of you for doing it. And thank you. Thank you for joining me in this journey, and thank you for deciding to pick yourself as well. Regardless of what decision you make, I'm proud of you. So now, let's jump into our episode of today, or chapter. Reminder, English is not my first language, so I apologize in advance for whatever weird using of words that I may have, or weird pronunciation, as well as I am an ADHD person, which means that my brain goes all over the place. And I am making this podcast as unfiltered as possible because I want you to feel like you're having a conversation with me. Like, it's not that you are a listener, you're one of my baby bugs, you're one of my people. And that's why it will be as random and unfiltered as possible. So, hi, thank you for joining me today. As you can read the title, Good Intentions Don't Erase Harm Cause. This is a phrase that I picked for this chapter in particular because it sat down with me after I read it on Instagram one day. And it was very tough and kind of on point for how I was feeling. For a year now, more or less, I've been battling with myself to understand whether or not I made the right decision to remove someone from my life. Something I have the feeling maybe a lot of you or some of you might be familiar with. Basically, a year ago, I cut off contact with my mom, and I basically removed her completely out of my life due to an extremely traumatic and painful situation she partially put me through. And the reason why I'm saying partially is because here, as I've mentioned before, I'm not putting the blame on absolutely anyone, because very often there is more than one responsible for the situations that happen. So that's why just partially her responsibility. It's been a very hard period of time where I've been trying to understand who I am while at the same time dealing with the extent of what trauma can leave in you. And while writing this chapter, I realized, because of course I'm slightly reading what I wrote, I realize how difficult it actually is to express myself without society's taboos in regards of family, and how it can be difficult sometimes to fully express yourself. So, allow me to restart. 1 year ago, I cut off my mom from my life, and I've never been more relieved yet terrified of what life will bring after this. The details of the reason why I cut her off, I will leave them most likely for another chapter. However, I want to talk about how freaking difficult it is to actually go no contact with a family member. Because I feel like we don't really, I don't know what kind of things you listen to, but I haven't really encountered that many people talking about cutting off family members, and let alone moms and like parents, and parent figures, because those are, in theory, the ones that you should have in your life and that you love and they will love you back. However, sometimes it's not the case. The amount of times I've heard the phrase, oh, but she's your mom, you should give her the chance to reconcile, or you should open back that door, or you should just give her another chance to understand what happened, either said by acquaintances or mostly by family members who know the story, and it's exhausting, to be honest. And to you, lovely human who is listening to me, as well as for myself, I say, even though they are the ones who brought us to this world, we don't have to endure big pain for their own personal growth. That personal growth part, it came also after a conversation that I had, like one of the last conversations I had with her, my mom, where she kind of said that she was trying to apologize, okay, for everything that happened. And the way how she was apologizing was kind of like saying that everything that happened was for a reason, and that now she understands that it was for her own personal growth that she put me and my brother through this situation. And thanks to that is that we are being better now, or becoming better, like, you know what I mean. And those situations where you will just wish to like punch someone in the face. That was a moment where I felt like that. And yeah, I wanted to start this podcast to tell the domestic violence story from the child's perspective, and how that affects us through our own lives, and how our caregivers' decisions may cost us more than what they can imagine. Because I always see the stories usually, not always, but usually told from the mother's perspective, from their abusers and stuff like that. However, I've never really seen it from the child's perspective, and like how that genuinely leave a very big toll on you. And maybe some of you will understand what I'm talking about. I will be happy if most of you don't know that, to be honest, because I don't wish this to absolutely anyone. But it talks in a general sense about trauma. Even if it's not domestic violence per se, there are different kind of ways of trauma. And this is part of the things I wanted to share. I am partially reading, by the way, what I wrote, and partially talking as a conversation thing, so I may hop from one point to another. ADHD brain, I'm sorry in advance. But yeah. I was gonna say sorry, but actually no, I'm not sorry, because this is me. This is who I am and how I am, and I want you to feel like we are having a coffee together, or a tea, or a drink, or I don't know, whatever you would like to have with me. So we're having a friend's chat. That's why the unfiltered part, by the way. To continue, one of the words I struggle the most with is victim. And don't get me wrong, I know for sure that I've been a victim of abuse and violence since I was very young. However, I was always told that I shouldn't play the victim, that I shouldn't complain because what they do is for my own good and because they love me, blah blah blah. It wasn't until I started therapy after the thing with my mom happened that I started to make peace with the term, which still not the easiest, however, it's better. To give you more context, because of my mom's decisions, I ended up receiving death threats from someone that made their way into our life like a parasite, leaving me with the dreadful decision, of distancing from the woman who brought me to this world. We used to be extremely close, always doing things together, traveling, and sorry. The tears might come out while reading or talking actually about this because still hard topic. Even though it's been a year. Also, I laugh a lot, mostly when I'm nervous, so the little laugh here and there, it's not haha funny way, but more like a haha I'm processing my emotions way. So bear with me. Thank you for that, by the way. Yeah, my mother and I used to be extremely close, as I was saying, always being together, traveling, and we even immigrated together from my native country. And I know deep down that her intentions were very far from causing me and our family any kind of harm. However, it's one of those things that just get out of control, like a landslide after a very big storm. And she just couldn't deal with it. She's still alive, don't get me wrong. Don't want to make it sound as if she's gone. She's just gone out from my life. And that little growl that you might hear in the background and the little clickety clack, it's my dog. I don't know if you can actually hear it with this microphone, but it would be funny and adorable. To this day, while I was writing this chapter and now reading it and talking to you, I'm still dealing with the aftermath of that storm. To be honest, I don't know until what point I can be transparent with things, but here's what I know I can tell. Trauma sucks. Going through something bad changes your whole body chemistry and it impacts every single bit of your life. Your relationships won't be the same, the way how you socialize won't be the same, even leaving the house to work or to go to school will be different. The fear popping up, the anxiety building up, everything just jumps at the same time, and even the simplest task feels like you are carrying a bag full of stones. And I have to admit, when I wrote this chapter, I did it like 2 or 3 months ago, which was the last time I had an interaction with my mother. And at that moment, I was feeling so awful and so in distress, because as I said, I was receiving death threats from this person that caused the biggest impact on my relationship with my mom. And I was on this kind of state of panic of not knowing whether or not those threats were like real, in the sense of not knowing if I was in danger or not knowing if I could be free to be and to exist in the outside world, because I didn't want it to run away more than what I already did. I didn't want it to leave the country that I'm at right now. I didn't want it to leave the city where I'm at right now. And it was just like that thing of, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, am I safe? Am I not? And I was in a lot of distress. I'm gonna say this very often in this podcast, but therapy genuinely saved my life. Like, of course, I got lucky. I swear to God, or to the goddesses, or to the universe. I don't know. But I got the luck of finally, after I don't know how many attempts in the past, finding a therapist right at the moment that I needed, that she genuinely saved my life. And, well, not literally. I didn't say literally, I said genuinely. But that's process, I'm sorry. But she saved my life in ways that I don't even know how to describe, and that's why I always encourage people to go to therapy. Little disclaimer there, therapy, it's literally like any other relationship. It doesn't always work at the first time with the first person. I went through more than 4 or 5 different psychologists and had some interaction with psychiatrists as well that made me feel like I was crazy and stupid, until I finally found this current therapist that I'm with. And like, I feel like I'm rambling a lot because all this is a very hard topic to talk about. Which is funny because that's the whole point of this podcast, you know? And it's hard to talk about things, you know? It's hard to fully open up and kind of make yourself vulnerable about things that can be so incomprehensive to people that maybe didn't went through the same or similars, or, to be honest, just any traumatic event in life. But I'm hoping that if you're listening to me right now, it's because you can slightly get to understand me. Which, again, I hope not. At least not from a big trauma thing. But yeah. What a day I decided to actually talk about these things, you know? But as I was saying before, I wrote this chapter around 3 months ago when, like, genuinely the crisis was very high. Like, I was even paranoid. Like, whenever I left my house and I was wherever in the streets, I felt like I saw this person everywhere. Like, if I saw someone with the body complexion slightly similar to that person, whew, the anxiety just built up. I had to avoid the person, kind of wanted to run away, scream, just disappear because I was terrified, because I thought that it was that person, you know? And it's very crazy. I don't want to focus only on that part though, on how, like, the struggle I was going through right now. Like, the reason why I talk a little bit as in the past is because now, today is, I'm checking the date, sorry. My clock is not showing the date. Okay, so today, 23rd of February, when I'm recording this. Probably I will post in a week after, but today I'm recording it, okay? And I can say that I'm finally more stable and free. Like, for example, with this whole situation, as I said, I cut off contact with my mother, and I haven't talked to her in already 3 months. Like, at all. I don't know how she is. I don't know where she is. I know that she left the country now because of situations, like, not even directly from her or from family. I heard it from someone else because we used to work in the same company, and someone from work was like, yeah, she resigned and she's gone. And the sense of relief that I felt knowing that potentially I'm no longer in danger, that potentially, and I say potentially because I don't know for sure, is weird. Like I tell my therapist, it's like mixed feelings, you know? One hand, I am happy to be able to breathe, to not fear like I'm gonna see her somewhere and that is gonna be dramatic and chaotic, or that I will encounter her or that she will cause more damage. or bring more drama into my life, which is not a fully drama-free life, because impossible. But at least it's okay, let's say. And yeah, it's a weird feeling of mixtures between being happy and sad, and I don't feel pain, but it does feel like a little bit heartbreaking, because all this time I've been growing and changing and healing and working on myself, and now as I cut off contact with her, it's like I don't have her to share these things with her, and it's sad. Like, the little girl in me wish I could run towards her, tell her that I miss her, that I want her to be part of my life and everything. But the adult in me knows that I deserve better, knows that that situation was not okay, and also made me realize that actually most of my interactions with her were not the best before this whole thing blew up. And I'm not saying that she's a villain, by the way, just want to point that out. I'm not saying that she's a bad person. She's someone that throughout her life went through a shit ton of trauma. Like, if I went through traumatic things, I could say even worse. And we both grew up in violent environments and abusive, and I know her life was not easy. However, this is not to justify her actions either. The reason why the title hits so deep in my soul is because we as humans are taught by society that we need to forgive and forget. And I want to believe that for your own good and for your own mental peace, you should forgive the people who have caused you any kind of harm. And when I say forgive, I don't mean like, oh, it's fine, thank you for hurting me, everything will be perfect now, we can continue having the best relationship ever. No. That's not at all what I mean. When I say forgive, is within yourself and for you, mentally speaking, to be capable of not allowing that person in your head to hurt you more. You know what I mean? Like, these people physically or emotionally cause you harm directly, like themselves. If you don't forgive them, again, in your head, you have zero needs to go and tell them like, I forgive you. No, they don't need to know. You don't need to tell them, because you're not forgiven for them. You're doing it for you. So, I lost track of my thoughts, I'm sorry. But once you forgive someone in your heart, the pain becomes less, and it becomes a more bearable situation, like, it doesn't hit as hard as it does when you're still angry, when you're still holding on tight to those feelings of pain and sadness and disappointment. Like, the disappointment I felt when everything happened with her, and she didn't have my back, she was not there for me, she was accusing me, insulting me and saying that I was the problem. Sorry, my dog is growling and barking because he knows I'm very emotional right now, and he's a very emotional dog. He's like my emotional support dog, you know? And he's not trained, but he knows. Surprising. Oh, sorry. This is the most chaotic chapter. I think this is going to be a very chaotic podcast in general, just because I'm not gonna filter a lot of things. So, thank you for joining me in this kind of tech talk, kind of podcast, kind of messiness. And I'm jumping from one point to another because I'm getting very, very emotional, and it feels weird. But you know, little bug. By the way, the reason why I call you little bug is not in a bad way, but I feel like it's one of the most adorable non-gender terms that I could find, and that I feel comfortable saying, and that it's so cutesy. I was between little bug and firefly, but for now, we will remain as little bugs. Because bugs can be cute. So, little bug. Trauma sucks. Going through something hard and terrible sucks. And I feel like we don't hear that enough. Having the people that you are meant to be trusting the most, and when I say meant to, it's by societal rules, by the way, not by actual beliefs, but like society tells us that we are meant to be trusting our parents, to be there for us, to love us, to care for us unconditionally. And sometimes some of us get met with like the opposite, with being them the ones who cause you the most harm throughout your life, either in childhood or in adulthood as well. And that sucks, you know? Like, we come to this earth knowing nothing about life, having expectation from other people of who we are supposed to be, who we are supposed to become, who and the what and the how and the when, and all that planned by other people, to then be met to the fact that none of that is a reality. None of that is what should be done. And I'm rambling here with all this because those people that are putting our thoughts in our brains of who we are supposed to be, or how or when are we supposed to be that person, that's bullshit. And I'm not sorry, don't get offended, but like, they're stupid. Like, and when I say don't get offended, it's because maybe some of you actually have very lovely parents, and I hope you do. I haven't called my parents stupid to their faces, by the way. But sorry, a little bit like a Chandler Bing situation of making weird random jokes in the middle of very emotional situations to cope. So apologize in advance for that. Again, for the millionth time in this chapter of today. But that idea of being who they want us to be is bullshit. Don't allow them to control or to determine who you are. That's what I'm learning right now. This past year, as I said at the beginning, has been hell for me. And it was not only because of the death threats or because of her randomly contacting me through either people or through like people, I mean like family members, or making her best friend reaching out to me to tell me something because I had her blocked everywhere. That's not the only reason why it was hell. It was hell because it made me realize that I didn't knew who I was. The person that I was becoming or that I was growing to be, it was not me. It was the image of what my mother, what my father, what society, what culture, what every single external person wanted me to be, which of course caused depression and anxiety and a lot of other stuff, and led me to crash and burn multiple times. So this year, it was not only hard for the obvious trauma I'm talking about, it was hard because I had to see myself in the mirror and realize that I didn't knew the person I was looking at. I didn't know who she was, what she liked, what she didn't like, because the things I thought I liked were not mine. The happiness, like the idea of happiness, I didn't know what it was for me. And it's crazy, you know? Like, it's crazy. And good intentions won't erase harm caused. Doesn't matter how many times they try to come back to you. Maybe apologizing. Their apologies might be, sincere, okay? I'm not saying that people cannot change, because I know I've changed and I know it is possible. But that doesn't mean that what they did was right, or that you will forget what they did. You can forgive it and you can move forward from it. But that doesn't mean that you will forget. That doesn't mean that everything will go back to quote-unquote normal, that everything will be happy and cheerful again. No. Because I know, as the person I am right now, I know if I open the door to my mother, I'm not gonna be the same person. I'm not gonna allow her to do the stuff that she did before. And because of that, I am currently saying that I don't want her in my life at all. And I want to keep that door closed. Because it's for my self-preservation and for my self-love, you know? When I talk about this with my therapist, she usually looks at me and she's like, yeah, but that door you will have to open it one day. And I'm like, one day, but it's not now. And she looks at me as if she will say, this is me probably interpreting too much out of her looks to me, but it's as if she will say that I am avoiding that confrontation, which may or may not be true. But for my sense of self-preservation and self-love, I know that right now, all the harm that my mother caused me it's not like, it doesn't feel worth it for her, not for her, but for me to have her in my life. It's not like she deserved it, because she destroyed something, she broke something in me that's still healing. And for me, because of that, she shouldn't be allowed to see me grow and bloom. And it's the first time I'm saying that out loud. Out loud, kind of. And yeah, we are allowed to build the life that we want without the people that cause us harm. Doesn't matter where you go, doesn't matter if you're staying in the same city as the people that has caused you harm, doesn't matter anything. If you feel like you need to cut off contact with someone, and even the hardest ones, which is family members, there is a rule made by society, which honestly I find stupid AF, to not say the specific words, because I don't know if this can get banned just for me saying those words. So stupid AF. I got distracted by saying that and now I forgot what I was saying. Recounting societal rules about, oh yeah, family members. That thing of blood is thicker than water, I think it was the phrase. I personally find it stupid because currently in my life, the family that I have, or the people that I consider family, are not blood related to me. The people who were there for me, who showed up, who listened to me, who made me feel like I'm an actual human being and like I'm me and accepted me for who I wanted to be and not who they wanted me to be, are not blood. I have contact again with my dad, and actually this whole situation with my mom made me get closer with him as well, because that was another complicated situation. Sorry, Dad, if you hear this, I love you. But it was hard. For a while, I also could have cut off contact with him, and that's why I said that the door won't be always closed for my mother. But I know for now is what I want and what I need in my life, because I've never been happier. I've never felt more stable in my life as I am feeling now when she's not there. It hurts like freaking hell, that's true. Because sometimes I think about my future, because we have dreams and hopes. And if it was like, for example, the idea of me maybe getting married one day, because who knows if I will or not. And my brain immediately goes like, she's not gonna be there because I don't want her there. And that hurts. Because I am more afraid of what harm can she cause in those kind of scenarios. Doesn't have to be specifically a wedding, but in those scenarios, than what I am finding comfort in having her as my mother there. Because for me right now, I do not have a mother, and it sucks, but at the same time it doesn't. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm rambling a lot today, and I don't know if I'm saying productive things, but thank you, Little Bug, for being here, for existing, for listening to me, and for lending your ears to this project. As I said in chapter 0, and I probably will continue saying it until the end of the times, this is also my healing journey. This is my healing process and a moment of self-reflection, kind of. And because of it's my own healing journey, I know I'm gonna struggle to talk about a lot of things, which is gonna lead me to ramble a lot. Maybe saying stupid facts randomly in the middle of the conversation, or forgetting what I wanted to say because I get distracted by myself, in order to avoid the point that I wanted to talk about. Hence why I try to write down things to actually keep a focus on what I want to share. But thank you. You are an amazing human being. You are worthy of love. We are all worthy of love. Even the people that are terrible, and I know you might disagree with me. Might. Not that you will. But I am one to believe that we all are worthy and deserving of love, regardless of our actions. I know there is very terrible people in this world, believe me. I know. But even those, we are not ones to judge. You know what I mean? Apparently this is my catchphrase of the day. Do you know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. Or maybe you don't, and that's fine as well. But we are all worthy of love, my dear. We are deserving of that amazing energy. And now I'm talking about you and me, right? I'm not talking about the rest of the world. I'm talking about you and me. We are both, or all, I don't know. Maybe you're like 5 people listening to me, so we are all deserving of love and worth it, and you deserve that beautiful light in your life. And that's partially what I want to bring to you as well with these ramblings and stuff that I'm talking about in my chapters, because it's hard enough going through life feeling like you're the only one feeling that way. I want to make that safe space, for you to know or to feel or to understand that we are a community that are maybe struggling with similar things. And you're not alone. You will never be. And I want you to know that. You that are listening to me at this exact second, I love you. I appreciate you. You have my Instagram, or the podcast Instagram, in the description of the chapter. If you really, really feel it, reach out. I only have like 5 people listening to me, maybe 10. So feel free to reach out to me, and I will be as nice as possible to answer. Just a disclaimer, as I said, I'm neurodivergent, so sometimes I forget to answer. Okay, don't get it personal. It's just my neurodivergence brain. But you're not alone, and I see you, and I hear you, and therefore I love you. Thank you for existing. Thank you for staying in this world. And thank you for lending me your ears and for listening to my rumbling. And I hope you enjoyed your drink today, because it's been already quite a while. So I hope your drink didn't get cold, or maybe you started writing or painting or studying, or you were just on your way to work. I don't know, but I hope you had a pleasant time with me today. Once again, and for the millionth time, thank you for joining me. You have no idea how thankful I am for your existence, and this is something I'm not gonna get tired of saying. I hope you also don't get tired of listening to it, because I'm gonna repeat it in every single chapter, maybe 10 million times. Okay, 10 million times is a lot, but I'm gonna repeat it very often, okay? Thank you, little bug. I hope you have an amazing day or night, or if it's not amazing, at least as decent or good as possible, because I know sometimes days are just hard. Like, I have a sign in my apartment that not a sign, it's like a how you call that, I don't know, let's say a piece of paper, and I have 3 slots. The last one is just because I quit smoking, which I'm trying to motivate myself to get in, so that one is not something we need to talk about right now. But I have 2 other lines where one is shit, but you made it through, and then it was actually good. Why am I sharing this? Because every time I have a very bad day, I reward myself with a sticker on one of those lines. So if I had a very terrible day, I just put 1 sticker, and that kind of cheers me up, because hey, I survived a very bad day. And then for also good days, because I was like, I don't want to only focus on the bad things, also to realize that more often than not, we do have good days. So life doesn't have to be beautiful all the time, because that's the biggest lie people will tell you. But at least we can make it as easy to handle as possible. So I hope you have a good as possible day, or an amazing day if you're already having an amazing day, or night, or evening, or afternoon, or life. I hope you have an amazing life. And I will talk to you in another chapter, I guess. And yep, bear hugs for you, or as we say it in Spanish, apapacho. Actually, apapacho is not a Spanish word, but yeah, un apapacho para ti. And done. I cannot pause it.